So, another depressing topic, at least to probably a lot of people. So, I'm gonna most likely be trying to whisper, but I don't know if that's really gonna help or not. But, anywho. So, how do I start? For years on end, like even before I made the abuse evidence channels actually, I've always wanted to make a video about the whole Lovely Peaches situation. And I feel like with the current minor crisis that's going on now, hold up, I don't even know if I pronounced it. I feel like with the current minor crisis that's going on right now, or even like people somewhat starting to talk about youth homelessness more and just like people trying to act like they're having some type of change of heart as Babylon falls, this is a good time to talk about it. And of course, as I always say, I talk about these things because all the things that are controversial that people hate to hear and pretend doesn't happen and is all a delusion in people's head are the things worth talking about. Not because I want to like get views or use people's situations or even my situation as like, I don't know, just something to get views. I don't really know how else to say it in an exploitative manner, I guess. Because realistically, if I actually did get views and people actually did see these videos, I would have been banned years ago anyway, so. But anywho, I recently saw a video of, I think it was on TikTok, and this girl was talking about the whole Lovely Peaches thing and how she was 15, 16 when she started making those videos about how she was pretty much going through, well, not pretty much, she was and probably still is going through prostraf. And I always wanted to make a video talking about how people, I don't know, the whole situation just showed that people really don't give a crap. And I know people are going to say that's not an excuse for the whole thing with Cora or her claiming to like be having sexual relations with her dog, which honestly, I'm totally not saying this right. I know that it's a part of sexual perversion, but like, I mean, I thought that was legal anyways. And that's kind of besides the fact that she was in the situation she's in and she claimed that she was going to like sell her baby, but luckily, well, I won't even say luckily, but supposedly her baby never lived with her anyways, and she was lying when she said it. Which, I mean, I would hope so, but it's like, it's an unfortunate cycle that was likely to be repeated since she had been getting sex trafficked since she was a baby herself by her mom before her mom died. And, what else was I gonna say with that? Oh yeah, the fact that she had like fractures and demonization to the level that she did from like just all the SA rituals and her like getting with all these different people that had issues and demons, of course. And so, of course, as I've always said for years on end, as I said even before the evidence channels, if she ended up the way that she was, and she was in the situation she was in, it's very obvious that it's not safe for the grandparents to have her baby either. Because it's like, the grandparents have had her homeless, living in hotels that she wasn't old enough to get. Because like in a lot of states, you can't even get a hotel till 21. I know Georgia's one of them, although I think it was said that the whole situation with her took place in Indiana. But what was I about to say? But yeah, it's like if her grandparents raised her mom or her dad, whichever one, but I assume her mom, and her mom ended up the way that she was, and Peaches had the stuff going on that she had going on and is the way that she is or was or whatever in the world, obviously they're not safe people either. It kind of reminds me of the common thing that I've mentioned a lot throughout the years, especially during the abuse evidence videos, where I would talk about how like the same Jezebel grandparents that screwed up your parents will sometimes be half nice or nice or there'll be covert Jezebels or covert quote-unquote narcs, because I don't like psych labels, to you. But it's like, they did all the crazy stuff that they did to your parents, but then they want to, like, be decently pretend nice to you, calmly by, like, materialism, like, they'll buy you stuff and get you food and stuff, but then it's about it right there, and they'll still calmly play enabler or fly monkey to your parents, but that can all depend. Like, for example, I mention the Soft White Underbelly saga thing pretty often. Nawww from Soft White Underbelly once mentioned in an interview that she at one point lived with her grandma in Beverly Hills before she had to move in with her mom. And the grandma, quote-unquote, raised the mom, but was decently nice enough to Nawww for her to be living with her at one point. That's how these situations go. But anyhow. So, in this girl's TikTok video that she made about the situation, one person left a comment and was like, why did I never think of Lovely Peaches as having an age? And people were talking about how they didn't know that she was that young. And actually, the T-Spill channels, which are like, they're really money grabs, they're all made by some dude apparently. But I know some years ago they made a video about Lovely Peaches, and they keep re-uploading the same video like every so often. And when people watched that video and it went viral and people actually found out how old Lovely Peaches actually was, people started to act like they kind of sort of cared a little bit more. Although I would say that, like, even if she was 40, it would still be like a really upsetting situation on all sides. But it's like, it just shows all the hypocrisy, because it's like, Lovely Peaches. Okay, no, I skipped some stuff. Let me go back. So, there were some comments where people were talking about how one of the reasons that Lovely Peaches was seen the way she was and treated the way she was because, was because she's quote-unquote black, she's overweight, and some people may not consider her attractive. And people weren't saying this to be rude, they were saying it to, like, because it's just like how people are, really. She's somebody that some people wouldn't find attractive, and due to, like, different discriminatory stuff with that, people are gonna care even less than, like, if she was, like, what maybe a lot of people... I'm trying to make, because I don't want this to come out crazy. I really do. Because, like, how do I put this? Because I'm trying to figure out how to put it. Because, like, I don't really see anybody as ugly. But I know how, like, a lot of people generally see other people. And I'm trying to figure out how I could put this without it coming out, like, really drifting sideways. But, I don't know. Now I forgot what I was even talking about. Pretty much, to get to the point, if, like, a lot of people thought that she was hot, then people would have had a different reaction. To make a long story short. There we go, because this is about to take 35 minutes. But anywho, I even remember this whole thing where people were talking about how, Lovely Peaches was naked with her fans, and some of them were minors. And I would be like, I'm not saying that was like a good thing to even be posted, but I was saying, you guys do know that Lovely Peaches is a quote-unquote minor too, right? And then the fact that people even, like, shared the videos around, like, people have the whole minor crisis thing, but then that would be CP, quote-unquote, which I hate that term. As far as I could care, all corn is on people abuse imagery. That's all of it is. Rituals and people abusing themselves and others. And a lot of people in there are kidnapped, and they're born into that stuff. Like, well, I'm about to go on a whole rant, but in fact, I remember Deliverance Chronicles once made a video, this was years ago, where he mentioned like how SpongeBob was about the Marine Kingdom, or really about perversion more so, but I mean everybody should obviously know that it's about the Marine Kingdom. And he was talking about how SpongeBob had asked Squidward if he wanted to be his cabin boy. And he was talking about how like a lot of people don't think anything of it because they don't know what a cabin boy is. But it revolves around essay with dudes, especially with like a younger dude and then an older dude. Or like, well yeah, pretty much. So like, it could be like really any age younger, but typically like teens, 20s, 30s, and the dude's just way older. And it also really could even go back to like how Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts is also connected to Freemasonry, which is under the Pagan Roman Catholic Church, just like really all religions are, and the World Council of Churches, and how like the Boy Scouts is connected to, Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts is connected to what is it called, the D-Malay, Rainbow Girls, other stuff I can't remember the name of. And they essay them as a part of the different rituals. And so, anyhow, what was I getting at? Hold up. Oh yeah, point is, I went on a rant. It's all people abuse imagery. And so, to get back to the point. What else was it? I don't even really know what else to say. It's like Lovely Peaches was like, no, I know what else I could say. Another thing, it is really common for people who are like really, really big for their age, like overweight, to sometimes look like they're way older than they actually are. Like, a lot of people who are like that at 12 or 14, 15 will sometimes like look like they're like older than they are. Like, I don't know. I mean, I don't mean it in a rude way, but I'm just saying. It can make people look older, just like how being severely underweight can make you look like you're a lot younger than you are. Especially if you're like also short. So, yeah, there's that. But anywho, she would literally just be like recording her essay pretty much. That's really all it was. Then the thing with her dog and daughter. And she was always living in hotels, and people would always make jokes about she was homeless, but like, I mean, I don't even know what to say about it. The same thing I always say about stuff like that, really. So I don't even have to go back over that. And then, what else? Oh yeah, there's also this whole situation where like she was trying to get herself together, which is really common with people who are in bad situations, who are falling apart, and it's really unfortunate. They run to predatory religious organizations, and she had videos, and pretty much like some church she was going to, the pastor was a chomo, and of course, she's a kid, and the pastor, he was just like looking in the women's bathroom, like she had a video, and she was recording him. And really, I see it as a cry for help. And I remember I would say stuff about that. And I think, like some other people were noticing that too, that it seemed like she was like recording him as like a cry for help. And it's really unfortunate that people go to these organizations probably looking for like deliverance and help and like a way to be free from all the demonic oppression and stuff. But realistically, religious people, I mean, ever since the Bible days, and Jesus, Paul, and other people talked about it, they don't like homeless people, they don't like poor people, although the quote-unquote black churches don't have any money anyways, due to a lot of different things with generational curses from Deuteronomy 28 and just like different stuff with that. But anywho, they don't like poor people, they don't like homeless people, which I mean, that's seen as the same thing, which is also funny, because like a lot of people who are pretty much poor, they don't like homeless people either, because like how people, for somebody to be up, somebody else has to be down pretty much. But what a lot of people don't know is that people do not, okay, wait a minute, people at the top or people that are higher up or feel like they're higher up see poor people and homeless people the same. And it's actually kind of funny because throughout my life I've never thought of myself as poor because I never really cared about any of that stuff, but I'm always reminded by people that they see me as poor. And it's really interesting, but I'm not going to go into that rant. But anywho, orphans, widows, the fatherless weren't allowed in or near the synagogues. And it's still that way till this day. They were supposed to be, but they're not. And if they do let you in, it's going to be some weird stuff. And as I mention all the time, church and state was never separated. The pagan Roman Catholic Church is still over everything, like the hospitals, the schools, or some of them, like the boarding schools and alternative schools. Of course, all the homeless resource centers and stuff. Like some of the storm shelters are Catholic churches. They're opened up when it's snowing and stuff like that, but the homeless people aren't allowed to go to the surface. And then it's all I can say is that, as people have always said, the priests are chomos. Not that I didn't believe it. The priests are chomos. There's a lot of weird sexual predator old people in there. The people are just weird in general. They have blank stares, as I've talked about before in a video I made a year or two ago. I noticed that in these white areas with a lot of Catholic people often become schizo split, as I'll call it. And a lot of them, they have blank stares and they walk around talking to whatever and whoever and stuff like that I've noticed. And I even had a more recent situation with a Catholic priest who was called Father something. I can't even remember, but in fact that's another thing I noticed. They're always called Father something. But I guess, hopefully they probably have some people calling him Daddy something, Daddy Abraham. I would never, but anyhow. So, the priest was talking about how, all the knots that are around their waist on the robe thing that they wear, because they wear these, weird robe things, they, stand for something. Or maybe it was the one around his wrist, I can't even remember. But one of the knots stands for, a promise and pledge to be poor, and to always give freely. Weird stuff that has nothing to do with anything biblical, but of course religion is a new world order and it doesn't have anything to do with the Bible or God. And of course also pagan Roman Catholicism and Protestant Christianity are European hijackings anyways, which are ran by Freemasons, which are a part of the Catholic Church. Even Islam is a branch of Catholicism. But yeah, they're always weird. And what else do you say? Another knot stands for a pledge and promise to God to be pure and to never get married, which has nothing to do with the Bible either. And most people already know that, especially certain branches of Protestant. And that's the thing, most Protestants know that Catholicism is false, but the Protestants don't understand the false foundation that they're on themselves. And so there were some other knots, I can't remember what they were about, but they always give off freaky vibes, or they are freaky. And I mean in a sexual sense. I always mention the priest back in Cali that was always coming up to me telling me about how I'm a beautiful 13-year-old. And he did the usual manipulative thing that people do when they see they're in a situation that they don't agree with or where they say, if you really want to help, then you do this, this, and that, and you come with me so I can do this, this, and that. That usual manipulative stuff that people do all the time about how you don't quote-unquote want help. And it's where was all the help when I was in my abuse situation, that when it was none of anybody's business and nobody wanted to get involved? And still, in any situation, you're going to have to save yourself, and people aren't going to help. And they're going to do this weird fake help where they play weird manipulative games, or they claim they want to quote-unquote help you by either trying to lure you in essay, or accusing you of stuff and telling you to go to some research center, some place to get help that doesn't exist, or they just mention things you don't qualify for, weird stuff like that. But yeah, that's what that makes me think of, though, the whole situation with her and the priest. And the priests have been Freemasons. Everybody should already know that as well. Like, they're masterful Freemasons and everything. In fact, I was selling a 54 book Apocrypha, and this one priest said that he wanted to buy it, and he's a worshipful master Freemason, and he was posting pictures at the smoke shop and the bar and everything. And he also had these like Halloween posts, and there was a lot of weird stuff, and it almost looked like some like voodoo type stuff. I wouldn't be surprised though. And that's another thing as well that I wanted to go into, which I kind of mentioned in a couple other videos, where I mentioned the thing with the 19-year-old girl who's getting essayed, Chomo bus driver for the family shelter, or for a family shelter, who was getting his girlfriend, he was quote unquote girlfriend or ex, I guess, that he was molesting, to like bring the baby to see him, but the baby supposedly wasn't his anyways, because quote unquote she cheated and told him the baby was his, but he agreed to still watch the baby. And it's like, you either have to be in a really, really bad situation where you're desperate, or like your parents are forcing you to do this, because like that dude was like, he was at least 80. He was at least 80, and it's like, it just has to be like something with paraphilias, or always desperation, or literally being full-blown forced, because like some of these chomos that people chase after, I don't see what people see, and then they're not attractive in any way, shape, or form. They're not nice. Some of them don't even have like jacked off, or I don't know what people are really seeing. It's like, shoot, they're not even cute. Like, honestly, I would say that the best looking one that I've seen someone chase was Elihu Kirkpatrick, which I have videos of him. But anywho, to get back to the point, why did I go there? I don't know what to say about that. I think maybe that was everything. Actually, no, I forgot something. Or I thought of something else I could add in. Under the video, or under somewhere, maybe it was my comment, but I can't remember if I made a comment or not. Somebody said that, by now she's only 24, so she still has time to change her life around. Hold up. Somebody said that by now she's 24, so she still has time to change her life around. And it's like, when you've been in this situation since you were a newborn, going through these different essay rituals and getting all these different splits and fractures, people's DNA going into your bones and brain and vice versa, and your personalities going into them and theirs going into you, and all the different stuff that goes along with that, and the trauma. It's not a situation where you're just trying to turn your life around. People talk about these types of serious situations that cause serious damage as if they're like, I don't know, like making a decision on whether you're gonna, what could I even say? If you're gonna like try to be a basketball player, or try to become an accountant or something, like it's something that's like, I don't even know if that was really a good example, but I mean, I don't even know. I don't know how else to put it. People are just, I don't even know what to call it. And if I'm not mistaken, I could be, but I think she was also in foster care at the time. And that's how situations often go. Or you like do full blown on the streets and you just like thug it out, camping in the woods or something. Or like, I've even heard stories of like groups of 30 plus foster kids running away from group homes, or just having no placement time, no placement at the time for a while. And it's like, as someone said, and I use as thumbnails for videos sometimes, it's safer on the streets than in CPS custody anyways. Which realistically, if you have the right mindset, you can stay away from a lot of people. You can avoid a lot of stuff and also camp like in the woods and not like in the city. It can be like safe, to be honest. It can also go pretty decent, but I mean, with the trauma around the situation and why you're in the situation, I mean, it's always going to be pretty drifty, but it's still kind of whatever. In fact, the Lovely Peaches situation kind of makes me think about how, like, a lot of people who are taller, like, look older at a younger age. Like, for example, someone who's been homeless since 12 or 14, but they're a boy or a girl, but especially boys, this is really common. Since they're, like, I don't know, already, like, 6 feet tall sometimes, it's easier for them to blend in as older and not have people call the police on them and stuff for being homeless, and they can blend in and like get by easier. I don't know how I was gonna make that relate to this, but it also makes me think about that, the whole situation. But I will say, as always, boys are always made to feel like they're not the target when it comes to like sexual predators and different things like that, even though it's never been true since ancient times, and boy love and man boy love and boy prostitution has always been a very popular thing. Everybody's the target. Never think you're not the target for anything, really, not even just sexual predators, but anything. Because like a lot of boys have been made to feel like they're like they could never be hurt, which is really weird since everybody's traumatized. Most people have been in a state, or at least have had early sexual exposure, so it's like really interesting. Because like I'll also often hear boys say that like they're safer in the situation than I am, because, or they were when they were homeless in the past, because they were already 6 feet tall and 100 and whatever in the world pounds by the time they were 14 and stuff like that. And I mean, to a lot of people that just makes you more attractive, to be honest. Not even just for sexual predators, but to organ traffickers especially, and they want melanin and melanated organs, so there's that.